Hello, guys. Thank you so much for joining. We'll be starting shortly. Call up your friends so that we can start soon. We'll just wait for a few more people to join. Guys, you can join on LinkedIn as well as YouTube, whichever is comfortable for you. Guys, join fast. We'll be starting at 11:05. We are waiting for a few more people to join. All right, we'll begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the episode 3 of the Secret to Crack Case Commerce by Bschool Buddies. I am Shreya Bindikiti, your host for today. This time we have the national winners of TVS Credit Epic Challenge 2023, Sarada Agarwal and Anish Kumar. Let me introduce both of them. So Sarad and Animesh both are 2024 pass outs of IIM Kozhikode. Sarad is currently working at Pavestone VC and Animesh is working as a management consulting analyst at Accenture Strategy and Consulting. Both of them were the national winners of TVS Credit Epic Finance Challenge 2023 and they were also the national finalists of TVS's Strategy Challenge as well. So we really have the TVS experts on the podium and they have been runners up in several other case comps too. So, hence, I urge you guys to make the maximum of this opportunity. This will be an interactive session where we let them present the deck, post which on the floor we'll open, post which we'll open the floor for Q&A, where you can post your questions in the comment section and the speakers will answer them for you. And this webinar is available on YouTube and LinkedIn Live both. So feel free to watch it through any of those platforms which is comfortable for you. And now we'll begin. So, Sarad and Animesh, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Shreya. Thanks for hosting us, Bschool buddies. So, uh, good morning to all of you. So, I'll just give you a brief background of where I come from and my introduction. So, my name is Animesh, and I am an engineer by background. I did my mechanical engineering degree from NIT Rourkela. So, I'm both a BTech and an MTech. I pursued a dual degree program. Then I worked for roughly for 4 years with EXL Analytics before doing my MBA and from IIM Kozhikode, and there my specialization was in finance. Yeah, Sharad.
Hi everyone, I'm Sharad. I'm a chartered accountant and company secretary by profession. Prior joining MBA, I was having a 4 years of work experience with big four companies like PwC and KPMG, wherein I worked in their deal advisory domain. I opted for PGP Finance from IIM Code, and I was the gold medalist there. And together with Animej, we have participated and won numerous case comms. Yeah, so happy to be here and hope to contribute as much as I can to learning.
Yeah. So we've split the agenda into these following categories. So I'd skip this slide. Let's move on to why should you actually do case comp, right? So why should you, right? CV points is one, PPI is job opportunity, learning. These are stuff that you say, I mean, but the actual what personally worked for me is monetary rewards. So I wanted case comms to sponsor my grad trips, right? So that was the first motivation for me. Second was samaj mein इज्जत wo milti hai. And third is in the situation the market is currently facing, right? You can see that across all tier 1 B schools, the opportunities have been limited because of recession, so that also reduces your dependency on placecom, right? It's a good opportunity to for you to convert and get into any of the firms that you target. And typical excuses why I've seen people why they do not participate is that it compromises with their academics. I mean, this is something that i that I regard as an excuse. I mean, who actually uh, there are a lot of ways in which you can manage your time. At least for folks at IMK this was the case, so I could say on that their behalf. But yeah, um, B school to B school it may vary that you may not get time, your academics is very rigorous, so that is something for you to judge. But I have seen folks even from MA participate in case competitions and found a way to crack the same. So I think it's just an excuse. And coming to the second point, that people usually say that few you participated in case competitions but you did not succeed, and therefore it sort of lowers down your confidence, therefore it hinders whether you should, it hinders on if you want to or your future participations, you do not want to participate in future. But I think again, it's, if you look at it in a different way, you have found few ways of how not to attempt case competitions in future. So yeah, these are just excuses. I think case competition is something that really makes you learn, and you should definitely go about doing the same. Now coming to how should you select which case comms should you apply to and what you shouldn't. So Sharath, maybe you can take this up.
Yeah, so from my perspective, when we are trying to look at case competitions, we should not be very selective about which case comps to participate in. Like you will say that I am only interested in finance, and therefore I will only choose and participate in those which have the finance category wise or domain wise experience necessary for participating and winning. There may be people who might just be interested in sales and marketing and then hence go for such case comms. But in my perspective, from what I have learned and working together with Animesh and other few people whom we have participated with, participating in domain uh, like agnostic case competitions helps you learn a lot. It's like, say, suppose if you're a finance guy and if you're still participating in a business strategy case com like TVS credit or something, you will learn and understand ways in which you can use those learnings and knowledge in the finance domain that you have. So one should not be choosy about specific domains or specific brands, you want to participate only in the top companies, or you want to participate only Fortune 500 companies case comps. So this is not the right approach. You will get to learn something definitely new in each and every case comp. So rather than being choosy or being focused on one specific domain or one specific company or specific brand or specific PPI, if I can say, it's better to have a holistic approach and try to participate as in as many as you can. You will definitely have some learnings to take forward to the next one. uh, the next one is the next one is when is the best time to attempt the case comp. So there are two different things which one should keep in mind when we are thinking to enroll ourselves in these case competitions. In the first year, it is usually seen that people find their workload in terms of classroom activities, class lectures, and other extracurricular activities to be a bit hectic. And hence, the participation in these categories in the first years is relatively less, which again gives you a better chance to win. Because since the competition out there in the market is less, people are less focused on case competitions and tend to keep more focus on the academics or extracurricular activities or events. You have a good chance in winning these case competitions, or at least having a podium finish. If not the national finalist or winner, you can definitely be the top amongst your campus, and even reaching the finals of a national case competition serves well. In the second year, you may not have much more time because you will be preparing aggressively for your placements. You will be having lectures at different times of the race, and then you will have people who would have been your teammate in first year, but then they might have got a PPO in the summers, and hence they might not be interested in participating anymore. So all these reasons make a life bit difficult when you participate in the second year, and hence you should try to devote as much time and as many opportunities as you can get in the first year itself. And in the second year, based on what Animesh said previously, you can still try and look for good opportunities and try to win a few. I think
Yeah,
Animesh,
I
we
just
can move
want
to the next.
yeah, yeah, I just want to add one more point over here is, so people typically look, so mostly we used to attempt case competitions through Unstop. It has all the timelines of what when will be the first stage, second stages and all. So typically if you, let's say, apply for 3 4 case comps and they all have a similar timeline, right? And let's say that timeline also coincides with your midterm and term papers, right? People usually tend to ignore it in the first round itself, right? um, I think case competitions, those timelines are not sacrosanct. If requested, there have been multiple cases where those timelines are extended. So do not just discard any case competition based on what you see on the Unstop page in the first round itself, right? Just go to the further rounds and then see how it turns out. If let's say you do not have time, maybe then you can skip it. But qualifying for the, let's say, preliminary rounds is also helpful, because then it gives you at least an opportunity. Otherwise you would have missed on that initially. So that is one point, just wanted to keep that in mind when you choose case competitions. Yeah, moving to team selection. Now, this is the most challenging part. So, I would tell you what worked best for me and Sharad is that we both have won around 4 competitions together. Three of which we were part of the same team, and for one I teamed up with another, and for one Sharad teamed up with was all alone. So what worked best for us is that we knew that both were equally dedicated. Like if I say that this is something that you should take it up, Sharad would do it, and I knew that he would do it. I do not have to pester him again and again and bother him whether it's done or not. So that sort of trust you need to have in people. So I would suggest at least have 2 people who can lead the work stream, right? You can have other people in the team as well, where you can delegate tasks and seek their inputs, but at least you need to have at least 2 people who can carry the work through to its completion. So that is one. Second is that having someone who can have a great PPT skills is definitely a plus point that you do not want to miss out on. The don't side, do not just choose folks out of friendship, right? So it happens that you pick someone, and then at the time of delivery they might not be as committed as you are, and then it leads to overwork at your end, right? So that is a challenge. Second is that uh, there are case competitions where they sort of want you to have, let's say, people from both genders, right? So they would want you, or let's say a combination of first year and second year students. So do not just include folks just for fulfilling eligibility. Try and see if that, apart from fulfilling that eligibility, are they even willing to work, because that sort of reduces your workload and also brings a better quality of output. So that is one. And second is that on the tip side, I would say that if the case competition permits, maybe you would want to um, have a team that includes people from both first and second year if possible, so that even if there are midterms or end terms, right, it does not clash, right? Because the timings are different. For second year folks usually have electives and the timings are usually different. So in case you have a clash, they may take it up if required. So this is something that you might want to keep in mind. Over to you, Sharad. Sharad. Hello.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, can you hear me, Animesh?
I can.
Audible?
I can, Sharad.
Yeah. Couple of things to keep in mind. So, first of all, there are multiple case comps wherein you need to pass a preliminary round screening test before which you are finally eligible to submit the cases that you prepare or do an analysis and then prepare and participate in the college final rounds, or maybe if you succeed then go to the national semi-finals or finals. So what you can do is you can create a dummy account or a dummy team and register yourself in the case comes with those dummy accounts and take those tests whatever is required. So it will give you a good idea about what is the kind of questions that you are going to face, or if the question itself repeats, you already have an edge over the others. So this is critical and important in the sense that you may be able to solve all the questions even when you don't create a dummy account. But then many case comps have this criteria that they'll only select 4 or 5 people from a campus, and then it's the fastest fingers first. Whosoever answers these questions in the least possible time qualifies for the next round. So the test really solves that purpose and makes you eligible for cracking that initial qualification stage. The stage one would be the first stage wherein you try to analyze the problem statement itself. That is, once you qualify for the initial screening test, you get a case study, and then you have to do an analysis and understand the problem statement. So for that, what you can do is you can look at various resources available for your from your college institute. I am well aware about IMK resources, which provides access to lots of market research, financial data, and all these kind of resources are easily available to all the students. So you can just log into these websites and download the relevant details that you need to understand and go through them in details. And then uh, once you have the brief, good idea and understanding about the problem statement, you can split the target result that objective into few couple of buckets and then allocate specific buckets to different people who can then individually work on these and then come up with their observation and findings, which will help you to find a solution or present an idea which you think will be able to give an answer to the question that the case asks. Stage two would be once you are done with these approaches, once you have that strategy, once you have that answer and you put that on a template, you have done a basic screening and understanding. You can try to build a narrative around what you have tried to develop. And then the most important part is having a story which connects these slides. So these slides should not be in just in the form of presenting one after
Sharad, I think I lost you.
the other. There should be story around it, wherein you try to link each and every.
Sharad, I think I lost you. Sharad. Hello.
Can you hear me now, Animesh?
So I think there's a question. Yeah, Sharad, you are audible now. Yeah, so I think there's a question on uh, somebody didn't understand the point in qualifiers. Okay, so for qualifiers, what I'm saying is that it's like a fastest finger first, right? You have, let's say, most of the qualifiers have 10 to 30 questions in, let's say, specified time limit, right? So usually what we did is we had a group of 4 or 5 people, right? 4 or 5 people sitting together in front of a screen, and we usually had so I usually attempted the test through my laptop, which had a touch facility, so that is easier to click, right? So it saves time. That is one. Second is that people on the sitting in my group together, so one is, let's say, on chat gpt, one is, let's say, on Google Audio. So they could read the question and then get an instant response, right? So that's what we mean about use as many folks as you need for qualifiers, because there you want to do everything in the fastest way you can, so that you just qualify, because most of the rejections are in the qualifiers round. Once you are through, then you get to work on the case, right? Uske pehle to it's just screening to remove all the candidates, right? So once you qualify, then you get to be serious about actually solving the case. Uske pehle it's just a qualifier. So that's what we meant by point number 2. Yeah, Sharath, you may continue.
Yeah, hope I'm audible now. So,
Yes, you are.
what I was trying to say in the approach was that once you have developed the analysis and the understanding part, once you are aware about what you need to talk about and what you need to present, you have to build a story around problem statement and the solution that you have developed. For that, you need to connect each and every slide with the, and then these connecting dots will make the entire presentation come up as a very elucidated answer rather than a. So then the story building and the narrative that you require, the storyline that you build, the key takeaways that you take from the existing slide to the next slide, and how the solution gradually progresses over the couple of slides to reach the final conclusion, that becomes a very important part in the future, in the further rounds, which is the after the qualification, then you move to the national finals or semi-finals. So in the rounds, this is the approach that really helps you to create a differentiation. uh, the some of the few tips that you can keep in mind when you're trying to build your solution is, first, if your college does not have these things are necessary, the reports or the analysis or the financial data or the industry data, you can reach out to your friends in other schools. I'm sure that amongst all these colleges have necessary resources. Your friends can help you by sharing their access credentials, or just ask them to share the relevant reports, and they'll be more than happy to share it with you. In fact, we also reached out to a couple of friends of ours in other colleges when we could not find something relevant for us. Next is, you have to modify the template size. Like, it is not strictly required for you to just follow what they ask you to do in terms of the presentation, in terms of the slide orientation, or you can do slide modifications to suit the requirements. Animesh, you can take this up as well.
Yeah. So basically, for stage one, typically you would get to submit a two slider, right? And stage two would have more detail. It would ask you to submit a template in 8 slides, right? So in some case competitions, they do not specify that, okay, this is the size of the presentation. This is the size that you have to use for your first round of submissions, right? So there they would just mention that you just need to present your conclusion in, let's say, two slides, right? And let's say I have a lot of content to fit, but that's not appropriate for this size, so I can take it to be a A3 or a A2 size A3 size or an A2 size poster, and then do it, because that's what we have done when we had, let's say, a lot of content to put. And in the subsequent round, let's say, for example, even in TVS credit, I remember we put a A3 size poster sort of for 2 slides. Then we qualified the first round, and then in the second round, the template was actually very strict that we had to use whatever they have provided. So therefore, in the second round, we again transferred that content, and plus we build it build something on top of it to align to the second round of requirements in terms of template. So that is something that you need to keep in mind. One another thing that you should keep in mind is that key stage one. So think about it from a company perspective, right? um, let's say there are 10,000 registrations, right? 20% you can remove, people just register, they do not submit. 8,000 people are there who are actually there who want to attempt. Out of first round, let's say around 5,000 people qualify in stage one. Stage one pay there only, let's say 50% people do a submission, 2,500 people do a submission, right? Out of those summation, this screening is done by folks who are already there in the firms, and they do not have that much of time, right? So they are actually just going over each and every submission in, let's say, 2 or 3 minutes at max, because how many resources can you allocate, correct? So there your point of view is to get through that screening, right? So you do not have to go in detail, you do not have to find the ekdam fine tuned solution. You just have to make it through that mark, so that all the hooks are there. That should be your approach in stage one. You have qualified stage one, you go to stage two. Then there is a better due diligence or scrutiny on whatever you have put on slides, because then you would be presenting in the finale or something like that. So, and there would be questions that would come back to you. So therefore, what you put in stage one can also be changed in stage two. Do not think that I have qualified based on whatever I put in stage one, and therefore I need to stick to it. That's why we have highlighted that you can modify the narrative of stage one in stage two if required. So that is something that you should keep in mind. Moving ahead, for research methodology, like Sharad mentioned previously, every college has repository of all the reports, and we actually pay for it. I remember we used to pay more than a lakh in every trimester just for these resources, and people do not actually use it. We have all the credentials, but most people do not know how to use it. So try to use that, leverage those resources that you get, and then reach out to people, reach out to past winners. Okay, how and what to research? Please provide clarity in this section. Definitely, we can take this up once we complete this slide. Reach out to people, take the session seriously, and on the tip side, read as many reports and research publications. And obviously, you would Google everything. So whatever is available in public domain is accessible, and then seek for reports, reach out to folks in other B schools like Sharad already mentioned. Now coming to research, so we have participated in diverse case competitions, Prodman, strategy, finance, analytics, everything. So research part mostly comes with marketing and strategy sort of case competitions domain. So it would depend on the context what they have provided. So for example, I remember we did a very thorough research for voice vantage there, where they were actually trying to change their operating model, and it was actually a business case, because once the results of the case competition was finalized, we got to know that whatever we suggested was not in line. So we suggested sort of a different operating model, and they actually uh, outsourced that business to hello, am I audible?
Yeah, Nimesh, we can hear you.
Okay, okay, okay. So how and what to research, yeah. So uh, so it would mostly come to you in from the case itself, that what exactly you want to research, but it would mostly be part of strategy and let's say marketing related case competitions. In finance you would have some sort of research, but that would be very specific to, let's say, risk management or what sort of things that you can do. So these are some of the basic ideas that, even if, let's say, you do not have any access to any report, you can maybe do a chat gpt and get, but you should be good at prompting. So what to research would definitely depend on the case context. I cannot just give a blanket opinion on how to go about it, but how to research, that we can definitely do. um,
Okay, so
yeah.
I think Nimesh, I'll take that up for some more details. So,
Hmm.
Prakshi, what you can do really is so first of all, what and how. For how to research, so say suppose I'll take the example of TVS only, since we are discussing about TVS. So we had in the TVS strategy case com the problem statement that was shared with us was, how would you integrate generative AI in TVS Credit's business, and how would you, what are the measures it will take to integrate, build some models, find some specific domains in which you will integrate this, and how will you communicate the benefits of this to the customers of TVS. So this was the problem statement. Now, being a finance background guy, I did not have any idea about this, and we were also doing TVS finance case comp at that same time itself. So at that time, I think what I did, and I and Animesh decided that we will do some research about this. What are industry practices in present? So what we did was we went to a couple of NBFCs. So since TVS Credit is an NBFC, we went to a couple of other NBFCs data domain. So I went to Punjab National Bank, ICICI, then SBI Bank. So I went to all these websites of these companies, and also did a normal research about them, that how have they at present integrated generative AI in their existing systems. From there, I got to know that okay, SBI has implemented LLM model in the credit screening process. ICICI is building an upscratch model, the full stack model from XYZ sources using the GST invoicing mechanism. Then I got to know that some other bank is doing, SBFC is doing some other model. So I got to know about these specific models by these specific banks by looking more about their activities in this domain. So this was the first level of research. Then we took a look at the various reports published by McKinsey, Bain, BCG, Kearney, and all these big consulting firms, Deloitte, PwC, to understand how are the industry players, the general NBFC players, playing out in the generative AI space. There we got to understand what is the areas of focus for these banks, what are the various scope or the domains in which they can apply, how the companies can apply in sales and marketing, or how the companies can apply in credit positioning, how can they decide whether to give credit or not to give credit, what is the recovery mechanism, credit recovery. So we got to understand problems and the solutions from these reports. And then the final level of understanding was to analyze all these data that we got from our research, and correlate that with the problem that TVS gave to us, and find out ways in which some of these can be customized, modified, or something new can be come up given the business context that we had. So we had a 7 or 8 pager case study. We had to find appropriate questions and then those answers which we could think of in terms of solving that problem. And then we devised the entire specific models, full with a flow chart, with a data diagram, and everything put in together. And then that is how we came up with the solution. Uh, I think that helps to understand.
I think we can move ahead. Okay. Now coming to the finale, so what specifically you should do for finale? So, especially for finance, right? The time limit is, I mean, for all the finales, that there's a time limit to your presentations, right? For finance, it becomes challenge because there are a lot of numbers, and you do not want to tell numbers to some leader who is coming and giving their time for your presentation, right? You should have something for them to take away, right? So it's better to try to tell them a story and not numbers, and leave hooks on each and every slide, such that if they, in case they have any question, they come back to you in the Q&A session, right? And it's also plus point for you. Think about it. If you leave hooks, you already know the answers to those hooks, right? So you know that you have the capability to answer back when, if it comes any time in the Q&A. That is one. Second is be consistent with formatting. This is a general, yeah, learn ways of how to highlight key points and communicate the message clearly. We'll also articulate this. We'll also demonstrate how, what was the presentation that we submitted, and there you can see, you can correlate this point with what we actually mean. Cluttered presentation with 1,000 data points doesn't always please the jury. This is a fact that most of us would have known by now. And then, one thing is that, when you are working in teams, right, people are working in different uh, parts, right? Not everybody has the same bandwidth in the same time slot that you want to work, right? So like I said, you have to have at least two people who are driving the entire project through, so they know that the big picture, what exactly was my story in slide 1, how it connects to slide 2, what are the repercussions, and how it flows to the solution. So what happens is that one person, at least one person in the team, has an end to end visibility of what possible questions could come, and how do you link it to your solutions. So that person might come handy to answer any questions about anything on the slide. Otherwise it would be like, okay, I have prepared this slide, so anything that comes from this slide I would answer. That is not the right approach to do it. So that is one thing that we can keep in mind. Second is that in case the jury finds out any points which they find is not appropriate or is wrong, there's no harm in acknowledging it. It's best to say that, okay, this is something that we could have looked at, I this missed my mind, or yeah, we acknowledge we could have done something about it. And it's a best practice. They even it sort of reflects that you are true, and you understand, you acknowledge mistake, your own mistakes. So that is a quality, and not that you can demonstrate. So do not feel shy of it, acknowledging mistakes. Second is that I understand that there are limits to slides, right? 8 slides and slides, and the content can be too much, right? Um, the best way is to keep very limited resources so that it can be read, especially for finance. There are a lot of numbers. Not every number is important. It's part of your calculation, I understand, but that can go in. That can be a part of appendix. It's not really required on the main slide. Only the key numbers, key metrics that you want to show, that could be highlighted, and that should be the strategy. Now the most important thing that I have noticed worked for me is worked for me and Sharad is that, let's say we have a presentation time limit of 8 minutes. So what we would do is we would prepare a script of what exactly are we speaking. Because when we structure, we when we just, let's say, structure our thoughts, okay, this is what I am going to speak, but when I actually speak, right, the time can take longer, right? So it's better to write exactly what you are going to speak, have it on the right side in your laptop so that you can just read it out, having eye contact with the camera, and time it time it so that you know that, okay, I'm not spending I'm not breaching the time limits. And do that in a team, do that 3 4 times so that you are actually within the time limits. Because there would, and keep some buffer in terms of, because there are cases when there are connectivity issues, or let's say people are mute and mute, there are complications with mute and mute, so it takes a lot of time, right? So 1 minute is already wasted. You so at max try to be within limit. At max, even if you have some content that you really need to speak, at max go up to 1 minute, not more than that. And actually practice your speech by writing it up. Do not just think that this is what I'm going to speak and this is what I'll cover. So that is really important. That has really helped us. And yeah, moving forward, I would want to walk through the presentation that we actually did for TVS Epic Finale so that we can. Okay, let me. Okay, yeah. So this is for TVS Epic, Credit Epic for Finance Challenge. So this was the template that was given to us. So these were the two work streams on which the problem statements. One was on stress testing, we were given some numbers, and some the other part was on fraud risk management. So this, the part B is all theoretical. There was no number crunching. Stress testing part had some calculations that we had to do, and because it's stress testing, it came into scenario. So this is how we approach the problem. So the first slide just articulated the agenda, and if you look at the color combinations, right, it clearly articulates that 7 8 is green. So it basically refers to the second part. So right, so there's a segregation that you might see. So yeah, so the first slide was basically assumptions and methodology. So if you look at assumptions are on the left. This is not list of all the assumptions that we had. For obviously it's a finance and we cannot just have 4 or 5 assumptions, but these are the core ones, right? Like I said, we want to keep just the core ones. If something comes back, we can always revert back that, okay, this is something that I can tell you. And that's why there needs to have one person who knows entire thing end to end. So that is one. Second, in if you look at the way we have highlighted, right? we have highlighted it in green boxes so that it's visible to people. Somebody who is just spending, let's say, 30 seconds, what would that person take up from this slide? So they might want to see that, okay, these are the two metrics that we have calculated, others were given. So if you look at calculation methodology, we have given that it is given to us as part of problem statement, and others were calculated based on the formulas. So that was one point that we want to highlight. Second is that if you look at the way we have highlighted key colors, so for example, the red color ones on the top right, there's an index that talk about that these metrics reduced, these are the design triggers, and these are the impacted metrics, right? So it's very clear for someone to understand, okay, what should I pick up? And it also has a lot of hooks. If somebody wants to come back, um, we can then take that up in Q&A. So these are some things that we did that I think worked for us. I would not go ahead, but the approach is similar, right? So these are the areas where there were liquidity crunch and there would were statutory breach, and therefore we want to change something about this. So these are things that we did. And then here, in terms of the theoretical part, how did we structure? We could have gone ahead and written so much stuff. We just wanted to include keywords. The keywords are highlighted, and even if you look at, we have used some icons, and then wherever, let's say, we wanted to apply demonstrate how can we go ahead with, let's say, risk appetite framework on the right. If you see, that diagram is sort of a demonstrative for people who are in finance domain. They would understand what this diagram actually means in terms of, there's a cushion that is being provided, that's a reserves, it comes in 4 dimensions. So something of that sort we have tried to do, so that it's easier for people to at least look at icons and then understand, okay, what exactly is the story from this, what's the key takeaway. So I think this is something that worked for us. And these were all theoretical. We just highlighted the keywords for people to take up. And yeah, and now coming to appendix. So appendix, we have called out everything, and in case somebody would come back to us for Excel for calculations, we would had that as well. I would also want to show you one more PPT for um, TVS Epic Strategy. This was for the finance challenge. So here we were winners in the finance challenge, and this is for strategy. I think we were rank 4, national rank 4 in the strategy challenge. Yeah, Sharad, you might want to take this up.
Yeah, so we basically, as I discussed, the generative AI. So this was the generative AI case. We started with, first of all, the basic industry analysis. Then we dived into competitor. Then what are the gaps? What are the use cases? What is the strategy? What is the cost benefit? So I'll just take couple of seconds briefly one by one, and then I'll run you through the slides. So we can move to the next one, Ramesh. Yeah, so herein we just did a brief analysis of the NBFC sector. What are the key industry snapshots, where the industry is heading towards, what has been the historical growth, and then how and where is the industry growth drivers functioning from, what are the key trends, are there any regulatory changes, and also some specific about TVS credit in terms of their gross margin, their net margin, their growth. So this was the basic introductory slide for the case problem that we had. So next slide, Amish. Yeah, so herein, as I told, we went to specific bank's website to understand about their model. So we divided into certain, then we looked at each of these banks. We found some answers, some analysis from SBI, PNB, BOI, Bank, Bajaj Finserv, Razor. We found various types of understanding, like there was somebody using linear prediction, or somebody was using social data, somebody was having a gating model. So we wrote all these things, but then we also had an understanding about what these models are, because you put those data points in a slide or an understanding in a slide, you need to have a thorough understanding of what these means. You cannot just put it for the sake of putting. So then we did our analysis, we did our research, and then once we are comfortable about all these industry practices, we put them up here. So this was the industry benchmark, what the industry is currently doing. Next, we took the problem statement itself, that is about the generative AI. So we tried to put a graph to understand what are the various types of generative AI and how that is being adopted by the industry. So this was more of an understanding about the tech per se, the technological problem that we are facing, that is generative AI. How is it adopted by the industries, and what are the key concerns, and whether it's in a uh, growth stage or a maturity stage or the initial inception stage or an emerging stage. So bifurcate that through a graph. Again, we avoided having too much content in terms of text and rather focused on having graphs or charts to catch the eyes of the people who are looking at our slides and give them a better understanding. This was more again from a diagrammatic perspective, the various opportunities that the generative AI space had, and what are the gaps, like what are the differences or what are the various plays in which Gen AI can come and help the companies. So next slide, Animesh. This was where we started about actually solving the problem for TVS, wherein we identified where in what all use cases can we implement the Gen AI models. So we identified a couple of them like customer experience, cross-selling, upselling. We also devised few structural basic models and how can these be implemented. So next one. And then a couple of more areas or use cases where we could identify. We also try to put diagrams to give an understanding of like business analytics or credit assessment, and then integrating blockchain. So all these were the part of the problem statement solution. Here is where we build the actual models. So as we said, we built around four models for this problem statement. So first one, how to improve the customer life cycle. We thought this through, and then we bucketed into some specific segments. Then what all things can be done in these specific segments. We came up with a model, then put it on the sheet to make it more visually attractive and understandable as well. So this was the customer experience model that we built. Next one. Then here are the remaining three models. The other one was how can we integrate it in marketing and communication, bifurcate it into a number of layers, and then put in various parties and stakeholders will come into play in these sectors. We also devised one model for fraud detection and one more for loan processing, wherein we integrated like AI along with machine learning can do a robotic process automation, which will help in improving the loan processing capabilities of TVS Credit, will reduce the losses, will reduce the exposure.
Should I skip these slides or
Yeah, we can skip
just
the. So
walk it?
these are. So this is just one of the simulated use cases. We tried to pick up some existing problems. Like we picked up a customer experience problem. We took a risk algorithm. Then we also did one of the simulated case for a farmer that can face a problem in getting credit. So we analyze all those perspectives and try to build a solution based on the simulated use case. This was the final slide wherein we did a cost benefit analysis, and we try to pull out numbers from what would be the benefits as compared to what would be the cost, and then what would be the net benefits, that is the net present value calculation spread over the couple of lifetime when once we implement the Gen AI. And the last one was the how would the customers adopt this, what will be our go to market strategy for the customers to understand our solution, and how can we make sure that the problems or the Gen AI solution that we are proposing, the customer will be willing to accept it. So this was that slide.
I think we have a question. Which tools from Shraddha? Which tools you use to make this slide? So, Shraddha, typically, matlab for us, we typically used everything. We made everything from scratch in PPT. We do not use a lot of Canva or other stuffs because it constrains you to think in that format or templates. Essentially, we took a blank slide. We collated all the content that we had to put, and therefore we thought which should go where such that it fixes that aligns the template. So major part of our work was devised, or I mean I would say 30-40% of our times were allocated to putting the content on the slide, because sometimes it doesn't look good, sometimes the flow is missing, sometimes the content is too much but the slides are, so we had to make it crisp. So those were some of the challenges. Therefore what works best for us is making everything in PPT from scratch. No Canva, nothing. In case you want to use some templates, so there are templates that are available, so but I would not suggest you to use the entire template. You can use elements out of it. So for example, let's say you want to have this S-shaped template, right? So this is an element that you would have in the template. So I have collected a repository of templates that I can share with folks. If you connect with me on LinkedIn and then DM me, I would share those templates with me. So I have a repository of around 4 or 5 templates having more than 1,000 slides, so that should help. So I use those templates a lot when dealing with case competition. And then obviously the color codes you can devise as per the case competition that you're dealing with. So I would also want to show you one more presentation, so just so that uh, you understand when we say that. Okay, this is so yeah, so this is the one that we won for Vantage Voice, right? So if you look at the colors combination that we took, the right side has some basic inputs where we are. I just walk you through. So you see this is basically the operating model selection. What were the parameters? um, these are the choices. Which one do we recommend? If you see on the right, these are the 4 choices. We recommended this spin-off, right? And the I think one of the reasons why we got second rank in this competition was that this was actually a business case. So they were facing this challenge and they actually wanted a solution, and we suggested spin-off based on our analysis, but they actually went with JV with BPO provider. I think this that was what they did, and we got to know about this I think a week after the case competition, the finale happened and the results were announced. So I think had we suggested this one, we might have been the winners. But yeah, this was the approach. So we looked at how would we implement it, why would we say that this is the best solution, right? And what could be the pricing models, what do we suggest? So there are 6 or 7 that we have mentioned, and we have put a tick marked in market based costing. So that is how we approach this. And then again, talent management models, right? So what should we do? These are some of the things. The tick mark are the options that we should focus more on. This was our suggestion. So it's quite clear in terms of the governance model. Again, we have given 4 options. This is the second one is what we should use and what are the benefits. It's an analysis of those, right? So it's very, I mean, it doesn't look cluttered. It actually was a strategy problem. It did not have lot of use of data points. It had lot of communication, but that has gone in a way that it's aesthetics to look, as well as it communicates what we want to say. The solution is narrated in such a way that leadership can actually take up something from these slides. So this is how this is what went well for us.
Also, I would like to mention one more thing. So usually when we see people participating in case competitions, our general experience was people take one slide, put around 800 words in that slide, use around 15 to 20 colors, and like whatever is possible, they don't leave any space. But if you see our presentation, main strategy for all the case comps that we participated in, leave the slide with so much of blank spaces. Just use minimalistic colors. If you're sticking with blue, stick to blue. If you're sticking with pink, stick with pink. Use the shades of pink. Don't put 10 colors. Don't put hundreds of boxes. Don't put 2000 logos in that. Keep it is as simple as you can. Use as less colors, as less text. Use more of charts, more of diagrams, more of statistical tools. And I think that creates a differentiating factor, because if you take a look at all the slides or all the decks that people make, everything looks the same. There will be up arrow, 6 segments. People will keep pressing the buttons, the segments. Then in each slide, you will find 3 verticals. In each vertical, lot of content. So that is what everybody does. But then what the best thing you can do is avoid all those things and keep sticking to simple basic framework structure and color combinations. That would really be best.
Let me come back to let me come back to the first PPT. uh, I think I'm facing some challenges with presentation again. Give me 1 second. Let me do a screen share. I think that upload button is not working. Can you see my screen?
Yes. Okay. That was a really wonderful presentation, Sharad and
Yes, Raya,
Animesh.
over to you.
Yeah, that was really a great presentation, Sharad and Animesh. Great presentation, great tips, and even I learned a few new things.
Hello.
And yes, even I agree to all the points that you mentioned, especially the one where you said you visited the banks and all. That was really cool, man. So yes, so much of hard work is needed, guys, to crack any case comp here. And
Hello.
yeah,
I
am I
cannot
audible?
hear you. Hello.
Just a second. Okay, can you go back to the deck, Animesh?
I cannot hear you, but I think you can hear me. So I'll share my screen. Uh, s-
Yeah. So I would like to open the floor now for Q&A. And we also had a few questions on the go, which Animation Sharad had taken up. Well, before going ahead, I would like to say that B-School Buddies is your buddy to take care of your end-to-end B-School needs, right from cracking CAD, GDPI, up to enriching your profile through guidance with respect to case comms and posting about live project opportunities. So, with respect to case comms, we are coming up with more content such as case comms specific guidance, one on one mentorship, and of course, case comp related webinars, which we are posting every weekend. Can you go to the next screen, Animesh? So for that, guys, you need to join our WhatsApp group, which you can scan here on, and the link is already present in the webinar registration post as well. So you can join the WhatsApp group because we keep posting about these webinars, and we'll be posting polls as well regarding which webinars you guys want us to take up further. And also for your quiz, just as Animation Sharad mentioned, that these quizzes are the first, like cracking the quiz is the first step to any case comp. So for that, kindly follow our Instagram page where we are posting quiz questions for your help itself. So we'll be posting them regularly till the quiz round ends, so that will be helpful for you. And now we are open for the Q&A round. We can see that most of the questions were answered on the go by Shraddha and Animesh, but we still have a few more questions. So, Shraddha is asking what all should we cover in the financials? Animesh, can you hear me?
am I audible? I think I can
Yes.
hear now. Hello. Okay.
Yeah, can you
Yeah.
hear me?
Yeah, yeah. So I think there are some questions. What all should we cover in financial? So mostly, so for TVS credit strategy, so we were recommending a solution, right? And how would they incorporate them in their work stream? So it comes at a cost. So basically, we just wanted to give an estimate of is that initiative even NPV positive? We compared the pros and the cons, and for that we had some basic assumptions, right? Whatever we study in the MBA first year for, let's say, PNL for NPV calculations, we just bake in those assumptions. Those assumptions need not have to be 100% correct, because it's just a 5 minute, let's say, presentation. Nobody is going to ask you, but it's just that if somebody comes up, right, and asks you to show the calculations, you should have a reason to justify the same, right? So bake in as any rational assumption, keep it in your back pocket, and then just show that financially is that solution even making sense. Is that is are the benefits justifying for the costs? So that was one. I think for financials, until and unless it's a very finance heavy competition where you need to do valuations, there you need to be more careful, and the assumptions need to be very very fine tuned and appropriate. But for uh, for let's say cases like these where um, financial is just one part of the entire problem, right? It's just a supporting part of why you are recommending what you are recommending. So there you can just do it within, let's say, 15-20 minutes. You do not have to have a lot of research, and let's say if you have time you can do that, but you do not have to spend much time on making the financials. I hope that answers. If not, is Sharad there or has he dropped off?
I think he's there.
Okay.
Yeah.
How to prioritize in different competitions? How did you did for finance and strategy? So first thing first, uh, apply for everything on unstop. So my personal thing was that I would filter any case competition that is paying more than 1 lakh. I would apply for it. That was one. The screening part is where most of the people get eliminated, and that was happened. So for me personally, I have made submissions in 9 and I could win 4, roughly, in at least in the top 10. So out of 9 I could do 4. I completed the first round of many, but then again I could not do a submission because of what should I prioritize or what should I not. So for me it's a personal choice, right? I cannot just say it to be a blanket statement. So for me, I wanted to do win one case competition in each domain. So I have one strategy, one finance, one analytics, and one in prodman. But unfortunately I could not do it because of lack of time, but I did that as part of my internship. So I sort of covered all the domains that I wanted to do. um, in terms of priorities, I think factors that influence your decision is how much money are you getting, uh, is it a very well sort of received competition. The brand name also varies. So for you would see a lot of folks going crazy for Accenture strategy or big firms, but let's say there are I mean some of for some of the brands it's not on their list, so therefore participation is lesser. That is one. Second is, in analytics, people fear that I do not know how to code. Should I go ahead with doing an analytics challenge? So for me, I remember when I participated in EXL case competition, I actually was from analytics background, but I did not use Python. So, but I knew how to go around. I mean, what I want to do with data, that I was very sure. So I reached out to a PhD guy, and he helped me with the coding. But I actually told him what exactly I want to do with this data. This is the algorithm that I want you to apply for me, and therefore he could help me out with it. So in terms of priorities, it's a mix of a lot of factors. Animesh, can you share the elements PPT with Shreya so that she can share it with us? Yeah, yeah, definitely. I'll do that. Um, I do this after the webinar with Shreya. Maybe you can post it in the larger group if that's fine.
Sure.
Okay. So okay, I'll share that. Uh, Anything else?
Guys, do you have any questions? We are near to closing up, so please ask your questions if you have any.
And priorities is something that you should take into account at a later stage, right? Once you get into after the screening round, you know that okay, you are going to work on a case, right? Then you should look whether I should prioritize this if I am selected in, let's say, 2 3. So for example, I remember Flipkart uh, strategy. I think Flipkart supply chain, we got selected, and it coincided with something else, with our midterm examination. We could not submit, but I really desperately wanted to make a submission for it, but it didn't go well for me. So I think it depends a lot on which phase are you in at that point of time. It would eventually happen. You do not have to decide. You will know that okay, this is something that I can do. This is something beyond, way beyond my bandwidth. So that's an easy decision to make. It's not too much. Do not think about it at this stage. Just apply for everything that comes and just go with the phase flow.
Sharad and Animesh, before closing, anyone else doesn't have any question, I would like to ask you guys a question. So, do you have any last tips for the upcoming case for TVS, how to crack this year's case, anything which you would like to say before closing the call.
So I looked at the case. They have increased the prize money. It's 2.25 lakh this year. The case they have not revealed. I think there would be a one preliminary round after which they would release the case. But mostly, I think on the finance side, it's. I mean, some people fear finance as well, right? That I do not want to finance. By the name of it itself, people fear finance. Ki finance में बहुत calculations होगा. It would be difficult for me to crack. I do not know. But TVS Credit is an NBFC. It's mostly on the risk management side. The case that we saw last year, it was on the risk management side. It's not too finance heavy, right? It's mostly basic logic. I mean, if you have appeared for cat, you would understand what stuff is going around here. It's just that you have to relate it to your subject knowledge as well to some extent, to understand what exactly is going on and what is the sort of uh, ask from the case itself. So I cannot comment much on the case right now. It's still not out, right? Maybe I'd have a better vantage point after the case is out. So feel free if you want to reach out to me or Sharad over LinkedIn. We would be happy to help you in case you want to let's say um, sort of validate your approach or want to have our opinions on it. Feel free to reach out to us.
Cool. Sharad, do you want to add anything else? I think he's facing a network issue. Okay,
Sharad, you are on.
yeah, you're on mute, I guess. No worries, guys. So, as Animesh just mentioned, that once the case is released, you guys can reach out to them to ask any questions, and also you can ask on a WhatsApp group as well. We are connected to all the mentors. So if you have any questions, just ask it to our group. Ask it on our group. We can take those questions to the mentors, come back to you, or we can directly connect you with the mentors as well. So once again, I would like to thank you all, Sharada and Nimesh, and all the viewers as well for being so patient, asking questions, and Sharada and Nimesh, both of you as well, to answer all the questions of our audience. Thank you so much for this Saturday morning, and it was a great session with you guys. We really got some wonderful tips, and the viewers also, most of them would be having classes. In case they can watch the recordings later on YouTube and LinkedIn as well. So thank you so much. We hope to see you again in the next webinars.
Thank you a lot. Thanks a lot, Shraddha and Prashant, for hosting us. Thank you.
Thank you.